Hello friends, are you thinking about MRCS ENT? Then this video is just for you. Before we start any journey, we should ask ourselves why. Why do we want to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons? Are we, as ENT doctors, looking for specialty training in the UK? Do we want to work as a doctor in the UK? Or are we just looking for the post-nominals MRCS to make our name look better on our CV? Or are we looking for any specific membership benefits? If either one of these four or some other reason that I can't think of are true for you, then please continue watching this video. Are you eligible to become a member of the Royal College of Surgeons? If you have a primary medical qualification from a medical college included in the World Directory of Medical Schools that can be checked online, then yes, you are eligible. But you have to pass the two parts of the MRCS exam, Part A and ENT OSCE. Part A involves, it's a multiple choice question exam. There are 5 options for each question and you have to select the single best answer. There are no negative markings. The exam fees is about 578 British pounds as per data available on 11th January 2024. This is obviously subject to change in the future. The exam is conducted thrice in a year, thrice every year in the months of January, May, and September. It consists of 2 papers. The first paper has 180 questions. It is of 3 hours duration and largely covers topics related to basic sciences like anatomy, physiology, pathology. Then the candidates get a break of 1 hour during which they can have lunch. And then you have the second part, which is of 2 hours duration, 120 questions, largely talking about perioperative management. In order to pass Part A, one needs to get roughly about 70%, and one needs to do well in both the papers. To get to 70%, one needs to prepare for about 6 months, provided they are also working at the same time. If you are not working, then maybe you can prepare with a shorter duration. And in my opinion, the best age or best stage for appearing for this exam is just at the end of MBBS or just at the end of first year of post-graduation. More important than the books that you should read is the fact that you need to revise repeatedly. The more you revise, the more uh, the better your chances are of clearing the exam in the very first attempt. Now, I chose to prepare by subscribing to EMRCS and pass test. EMRCS had the benefit of almost mimicking the exam questions, whereas pass test had anatomy videos, which were really helpful. I did not read the Basic Sciences book by Raftery, and I also did not read the Essential Revision Notebooks by pass test, though I did buy all of the resources that are mentioned on this slide. But I largely relied on the past test subscription as well as the EMRCS subscription. And I passed the exam in the first attempt. How do you book the exam? The exam needs to be booked online. One can go on the official websites of one of the 4 royal colleges. So there are 4 royal colleges, one in England, which is based out of London, and you have 2 in Scotland, one in Edinburgh, one in Glasgow, and the Ireland Royal College is based out of Dublin. So one can go on any of these websites and apply for the and book the exam online. So one has to pay the exam fees online, and then one can book the exam center or the exam venue a few weeks before the exam date. There are definite windows during which one can book the exam. So suppose you want to book the exam for September, then you probably have to, the deadline would probably be somewhere in July. So that has to be kept in mind. Now once a candidate has passed Part A, then one has to deal with OSCE. And in this case, the fees is double. OSCE also is held thrice a year in the months of February, May, and October. OSCE has two parts. There is the non-manned exam and there is the manned exam. The non-manned exam can be attempted from the comfort of your own home, provided you have a reliable Wi-Fi and a very good computer with proper specifications. Because the last thing you want while appearing for the exam is your computer to crash or there to be some network issues. This exam is a proctored exam, which means that you will be monitored through the webcam of your own computer by someone who can see you, but you will not be able to see the person. So they will make sure that you don't cheat during the exam and just by looking at you through your own webcam. So it's very important to keep certain things in mind. For example, you should not read the questions out aloud because then the person observing you during the proctored exam might think you are asking for the answers from someone hiding in the room who the person monitoring the exam cannot see. It's very important that nobody talking very loudly from outside your room, or nobody is knocking on the door. So it's very important to have a clean, quiet room. All the instructions will be provided before the exams, but these are some things that you need to keep in mind. So yes, you can appear for the non-manned exam from the comfort of your home, but there are some rules and regulations that one needs to adhere to very strictly because people do get barred for even simple or apparently simple mistakes like just reading the question loudly. Now, in the non-manned exam, there are about 20 questions. Each question has several subparts. They may be image-based questions or short answer questions, which need to be typed. So if you struggle with typing, then I would strongly urge you to practice typing before the non-manned exam. For the manned exam, one has to travel either to London or to Edinburgh or to Glasgow or to Dublin, depending upon where the exam is being conducted. Um, this exam consists of 4 or 5 stations. There is the examination station, there may be the history taking station, the Breaking Bad news station, the informed consent station, the explanation station. Now, in every station, the typical setup is there is the examinee, which is you. There is the examiner who stays completely silent and lets you interact with the actor who is playing the role of the patient. Now, you might have to obtain history from the patient, or you might have to break a bad news to the patient that maybe the patient is suffering from laryngeal carcinoma, or the patient's child has cholesteatoma and requires urgent mastoid operation, or you might have to obtain informed consent for a surgical procedure, or you may have to explain a diagnosis like, say, Meniere's disease, something of the sort. Roughly, each station has about 6 minutes, if I remember correctly, but you will not be able to look at the watch while you're appearing in the station. So you need to practice repeatedly to be able to finish the stations in the designated time. In all, considering the rest station between, the manned exam takes about 40 to 45 minutes once the exam starts. It is important to remember that although I have described my experience, your experience can be different because the format of the exam has changed. It was different before COVID. It was it was completely online without any interaction, without any in-person interaction during COVID, and it has largely moved to the hybrid model post-COVID, and it can go back to the old pre-COVID model any day. So you have to be ready for any kind of change. Now, if you're appearing for the exam from India, then you also have to keep in mind that there may be delays in getting the visa, so you should apply for visa very early on. And it costs about 10,000 rupees, but it largely depends on the category of visa you're applying for. For the OSCE exam, the main book that people read is Master Pass OSCE, and I have to recommend Dr. Osama Salem's online course, which I had taken myself. There is no conflict of interest in any of the resources that I've pointed out. I don't stand to gain financially if anyone watching the video chooses to subscribe or buy any books. but Dr. Osama's course cannot be recommended enough. It is a very, very, very good course, and it did make passing the OSCE part of the exam a cakewalk for me. It was very, I was very nervous. I did not know what to expect, but Dr. Osama made it, it made it very easy for me. So he explains very well, and he's very approachable, and he's a very fine man. Now that you've passed both parts, you have to still pay 225 British pounds to become a member if you are an Indian national. And each year you should each year you should renew your membership by paying 45 pounds. And voila, you have the MRCS post-nominals. Once you have the post-nominals, you can either choose to move to the UK or you can choose to remain in your home country. If you do choose to move to the UK, you have to prove that you can communicate in English. So for that, for your English, to demonstrate your English proficiency, there is the IELTS exam, which is slightly less expensive but more difficult to pass, whereas the occupational English test is more expensive but easier to pass for doctors because it largely caters to the healthcare fraternity. So the scenarios in the occupational English test is mostly designed around what healthcare professionals encounter on a day-to-day basis. Now, once your English proficiency test has been cleared, then you need to make sure that your medical qualifications are verified independently by an organization called EPIC. Now, this organization is probably called My Health now, but the philosophy remains the same. A third party will independently verify your credentials, and then basically they will certify that your credentials are genuine, and then you can apply for GMC registration. I can make another video about GMC registration because that requires more detailed discussion. Now, if you choose to remain in your home country, then you can opt for the benefits that come with membership, such as some fellowships, and Singapore and some countries in the Middle East do recognize MRCS. So these are the benefits that one can hope for if one does not want to move to the UK. Also, I must highlight that it is an expensive exam. I have a breakdown here. So roughly one can expect to pay close to 300,000 Indian rupees or 3 lakh Indian rupees minus and I'm not even included the travel expenses or the expenses regarding the books and the courses that I subscribe to. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask in the comment section, and I'll try to answer each of your doubts if you have any. Good luck.